Greetings, this is Fred in Alaska. Want to thank all the new subscribers for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the channel. I'm here to share Alaskan experiences from every Alaskan, but from First Nations Alaskans as well. I'm Trevor Roll, Young Tribal Council member from Dillingham. Upcoming documentary, the first part of it is just First Nations perspective, history, modern. It's just covering a native perspective from historical to current. Um, that being said, it's not a race thing. It's just I'm trying to get a First Nations perspective from areas across the state into one documentary, but to be informative and to showcase how it's been in history and how it's an ongoing thing with First Nations people. All my experiences that I've had personally are not unique to me. I know for a fact of other people, relatives, acquaintances from back home that have had far more just outlandish stuff going on. It's not unique, and it goes untold. So much of it goes untold, even amongst individual family members. Like the two members of family that I had my experience with, they don't even talk to me because of it. So these things happen. The majority, you could kind of chalk up to curiosity, but the majority of what I'm hearing from people and what I've seen is a predatory, not, it's very eerie. Anything that will mimic a baby crying, a family pet, something that you know personally and intimately, and use that against you to lure you out. Come on now. Not my friend. Not my friend. Anyway, so that being said, this involves three people. One guy was a wannabe tour guide. He knew just enough to be dangerous. He'll be left unnamed, and this experience is shared from one of the female hikers that paid to go on this excursion. Her and her best friend from college. It was one of those, hey, we're gonna pack up for the season, hip hip hooray, you know, we're finishing up our courses next fall, let's go to Alaska, let's take, you know, our excess money we save from books by doing odd jobs and all that, let's go have us a hiking trip, and we'll go, you know, they just randomly picked a spot, and lo and behold, they picked the Wood Tick Chick State Park. I don't mean to laugh, I know that I know what's going on over that way. So they're all about their stuff. They're very good hikers. They've been all over, you know, the Sierras, the Cascades, all that. You know, everywhere you could hike down states. They went and hiked it in one form or another over their course of college career. And they've been besties the whole time. They got along great. Even when Aunt Flo was visiting, they were still the best of friends. They've been through a bunch of hardships and whatnot already in life together. So they were really tight. Now, this person they had hired used to be a student, left for a while, came back. They said, oh, hey, haven't seen you in a while, where you been? I'm a fishing guide and a hiking guide in Alaska. Okay. Well, he wasn't. So they were like, oh, well, what is it? You know, we were talking about going, what does it cost? And he gives them an outrageous price at first, and they said, hell no. And he goes, well, what do you got? I'll work with you. Now, any guy that says, what do you got? I'll work with you. They need that money pretty bad. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting quality service, if you know what I mean. So beware. And don't drink and boat. People die every year drinking and boating. It's not a joke. Anyway, I digress. I've lost more fingers than I got in people to alcohol and boats. So it's not a joke. Anyway, enough of the PSA. So this guy cons them, basically, lures them. They pay for their own tickets, which is righteous. You know, hey, they're going on a trip. It's your vacation, not mine. So they pay for their tickets. They get to Dillingham. The guy shows up a day later. They stayed at the Bristol Inn. At the time this happened, my auntie actually ran that hotel. And it was kind of funny to hear from a total stranger, oh, Liz at the hotel, she was so awesome and nice and da 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 da. And, you know, I tell her, that's actually my auntie. and so it really blew her mind, you know. So anyway, they stayed a night there, and they went back out to the airport where the guy he came in on his flight the next morning, the first jet in from Anchorage, and his supposed setup was he had a nice company vehicle in Dillingham. They had several kayaks, several canoes, the whole bit. He didn't have none of that. He called Ernie's cab. Calls Ernie's cab to come pick up his clients, and they're getting a sinking feeling, right? Because this guy obviously is lost. When he comes out of the airport, he doesn't even know which direction to go, and there's only one way. There's only one direction. When they were pulling out in the cab to head to town to go and get the girl's stuff from the hotel and check out and stuff and go on their adventure, he was like, "Oh, it's that way." Anyone knows that when you pull out of Dillingham Airport, you gotta make a left and then go back down around Squaw Creek, back out to past the end of the runway, and then back up past Willow or anyway, to make it pass and go back up into town into Dillingham, Windmill Hill, you know, past the Willow Tree Bar and the Wood River Road and Knack and all that. Anyway, so he should have known that. Had he been going there for years, it shouldn't have been a fucking mystery. Anyone who's been there one time could tell you how to get around Dillingham. It's not, there's not much there as far as roads. So they get to the Bristol Inn to get the girl's stuff from the room. One of the girls runs in to get the stuff while the other's sitting out talking with the cab driver, and the tour operator went and helped because there was one of the bags that was heavy. So the cab driver asks, "Oh, you going on a trip?" And she goes, "Yeah, this is that guy. That he's our guide." And the cab driver said, "It doesn't seem like he knows too much. You know, you might want to." Yeah, and he warned her, "You might want to think twice and maybe get a hold of some Bowker, whoever else was doing real legitimate guiding of any kind at that time." And they're like, "No, we paid him. He's so far it's been what he says it was, outside of no company vehicle, but he claims it's up at the lakes." And the cab driver was like, "So we're going to Aleknagik from here?" And that's a 22-mile trip, so they have set prices and everything. So she was a little sticker shocked on what that price was. And so they make it down with all the stuff, and she addresses the guy immediately. "Hey, why don't you have, if you're running multiple kayaks, multiple canoes, why aren't your people here to meet us? Why aren't we getting picked up by your company?" And he goes, "Oh, the rest of them aren't here yet. Our stuff's out there. The rest of them ain't here yet." Okay. They didn't know. So they went along, got the cab ride out, paid the exorbitant amount of money for a cab ride, and this guy's supposed equipment was actually belonged to someone else, was chained up, so it couldn't just walk away. And what was hilarious is the people that owned that particular equipment he was trying to pass off as his companies happened to be standing nearby when this guy's trying to feed these ladies a line of shit. Now, it's on them. They continue to go. So, all that being said and done, they get their ride in a canoe. Totally different freaking story to share on that. So they end up ride canoe. They get a ride up a lake and get up the Agula Walk, up and around, and then up into Lake Beverly. Right. They get to this spot. The guy's talking to the skiff driver, saying, "Hey, we're gonna be out here approximately 3 days before we get to the Agula Walk, and then we'll drift the Agula Walk, and you'll find us coming back across Lake Aleknagik when you come to get us in 3 days." Guy was like, "All right. Any problems?" He even gave him an EPIRB. The guide didn't have an EPIRB. The tourist or whatever, the tour operator, no EPIRB. No form of communication whatsoever. Not even a handheld VHF to possibly radio a plane flying by if they needed help. None of that. Unprepared for where they were going. This isn't just across a lake at some dainty resort. No, this is fucking remote Alaska. Google it. Wood-Tikchik State Park, Lake Beverly. Google it. Yeah. There's no amenities around there. So immediately, the girls were unloaded. This conversation she heard the guy having with their tour guide about the radio and the EPIRB. So before the guy in the skiff leaves, she goes over and goes, "Hey, why don't you have that stuff ready?" And starts drilling him then when they're out there instead of when should have been drilling him in Eleknagik before they got to this point. But she she knows better now. They have a little squabble. She tells him she's not happy, and she tells the guy driving the skiff, "Hey, if you don't see us in 3 days, contact the troopers. We've already invested this money. We're gonna get our hike, but be aware this guy's on notice." And you know, it was very uncomfortable there for a few minutes. So the girls have all their stuff, and they got it up on the beach and away from the tour guide, which unfortunately they have to be in the same canoe with. So they settle down, things calm down, skiff leaves, they know where they're going. The girls had a topographical, they got their compass, they know if this idiot gets lost, they can get in the canoe and make it to a Leknagik, right? So they were confident within themselves with their outdoor experience that if they had to ditch this friggin' Yahoo, they would do it. So, and I don't blame them one iota. Don't offer services you can't fucking do, especially if they're remote. Anyway, I'll stop. I'll stop. Make me want to fucking choke somebody. Putting people in danger like that. So they, the women take over. The women punk this guy out. She when I was talking to her, she started laughing. She goes, "I never met such a soft guy. That's supposedly from Alaska. I pushed him around like and I won't get into it, but they were browbeating him pretty hard on his stupidity, right? And wanting a refund on a partial refund on some of those monies. So they get it worked out. They get in the canoe because where they got dropped off, they didn't want to stay there. It was too narrow of a beach, a lot of mosquitoes, and there was a better place across the lake that had been cleared by somebody over the years, and it is basically just a small little quasi elongated horseshoe pasture cut out of the trees. Not very big, but a lot more room than where they were then. So they hop in the canoe. They got their stuff on. They're excited now because the adventure's starting. Because all the squabbling's done. They got it worked out, and now they're just gliding across glass water, pristine beauty all around them. Click click, cameras going off, smileys for selfies for each other together. We're at the lake, all that happy stuff, which is awesome. I'm not mocking it. I just think it's great. They were living it. That all the talk, they were living it now, and they were really digging it. So I know this area. Been there. my my buddy Brandon been there. Anyway, so they get across to this place where they're gonna be, and it's nice. And it so happens where they're gonna be camped out, where the sun is setting. The sun is just right there. It's beyond beautiful. She said it's the most gorgeous picture she's ever taken, and she still can't believe how beautiful it was. So they were awestruck in the natural beauty. As they're setting up on the other side, a bear walks along the beach, glances over at them like they were nothing, and continues on. She said it was the biggest damn brown bear she had ever seen. She said it looked like a Volkswagen, just gingerly trotting along, barely paid attention to him, saw him, but they were nothing to it, and it just carried on. And they were thankful because the idiot brought some piece of crap gun that wouldn't protect anybody, and they had some bear spray. So that's the only thing they had was some obscure, weak rifle of some kind and bear spray. As far as any weaponry, so to speak, the bear didn't concern them because the bear wasn't aggressive, and they just click, 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 click. They probably have 2,000 pictures of that bear. Night goes on. They eat. They're good. They rack out. They're in their tents, and the tour guide didn't have a tent. I don't know what he was thinking. He was asking, "Can I share your tent with you ladies?" Fuck no, creep. So they're like, "Grab the tarp. You got a sleeping bag. Make a tent. You're not sleeping by us, scumbag." And so there was issues. Guy goes and makes his little tarp shelter, right? So they rack out, and somewhere in the middle of the night, she had to use the facilities. So she went down to where there was a grass edge before the beach, um, dug a little pit kind of thing, handled her business because she didn't want that creepoid to have any visual of her, so she was kind of down by the bank. Handles her business, does her thing, washes her hand off in the lake and stuff, and she goes back up into the tent. And when she gets into the tent, her friend is kind of sitting up on one elbow and going, kind of like, listen. And she's pointing back up because where they're camped, it goes up onto a mountain. It just goes, the wood line stops and it just, the grade increases and it goes almost straight up. So they're listening away, and it sounds like nails on a chalkboard, but uh, she said not as loud. Like it was more of a muted kind of sound instead of like that. So it's this going on, and they're trying to figure out what the hell it was because it was real low and real faint at first. And as they're really leaning into it, this loud scream. It goes from like sounding like hey into like this long drawn out kind of almost Tarzan like, but not. It was like a cadence of but it was a totally different sound. Um, Loud, very loud, multiple octaves. Heard a lot of that, and so they're immediately like, what? Because this wasn't very far away. We're talking maybe 70 yards, maybe, and that's being very generous on the distance. Maybe 70 yards away, this is happening, and they hear and feel the tent kind of humming and vibrating with this noise. The zipper was jiggling. She said, "That's loud," and all of a sudden they heard old tour boy scrambling out of whatever mess he made for himself to sleep in, and he's screaming, Where'd you put the bullets? Where's the bullets?" This guy didn't even have didn't even have the thing loaded. He's already in remote Alaska. What are you gonna say? Oh wait, Mr. Bear, let me load up here before you chew on me. Come on, man, come on. Anyway, so they all respect that may have been redeemed for anything. This guy is lost at this point for them, and they're terrified. They are absolutely terrified. That is a very big what the fuck ever. They have no clue. So they get out of the tent. They're talking to the guy. Hey, calm. Dude's acting worse than them. They're calm and collected. They're more of the mindset of let's figure it out or maybe get out. Let's go. Now, this is Alaska. It's the land of the midnight sun, right? It doesn't get fully dark. It's hard to explain unless you've been here. Pictures really don't give it justice. So it wasn't fully dark out, but anything in the shrubs is just pitch black. That's just how it is. And so you may be able to see across a football field rather easily, but the tree line, you ain't making shit out, and it is pitch black. So they're contemplating their options, and the girls are like, let's get the hell out of Dodge. Let's go. It ain't worth it. We're running out of fun real fast, and we'll take an L if that's what it has to be. But something's wrong with this noise. We got a little bit of rest. Let's pack up and let's continue our trip and just go. Because they had a distance to go. It's not like they just had to go to the end of the lake to the landing. No, they had another river to go down, another lake to cross, and another river to go down. Not an easy trip. So they get their stuff together. Dude finds his ammo, loads it up. Uh, this woman takes the firearm from him, says I'll load it in the canoe, and conveniently loads it by her and her friend. Guy protests, hey. She goes, if anything happens, you need to be paddling since you're stronger, and we will tend to the gun. Oh, okay. Anyway, so weak dudes, I don't like weak dudes. They were righteous. The ladies were righteous, punk him out. But in general, I don't respect weak dudes. Be a man. It's not being macho. It's be a man. Anyway, so they pack up and they go. Now, in the meantime, while they're doing all this, there's that kind of sound every so often. It sounds like She expressed it as nails on a chalkboard but deeper, like a versus a, that was her analogy, not mine. So strange sound nonetheless. Whole time, periodic off and on, where they're getting everything together, getting loaded in. Now when they get loaded in and the guy pushes them off, he steps in, almost tips them, and they ride it real quick because they're low in the canoe, and they shifted their weight to accommodate his dumbass. So the guy starts paddling, and he's paddling mainly to the one side, and so they're basically curving back towards shore. And she throws an oar in and corrects it because the guy was supposed to paddle the whole way according to their contracted agreement. He was the source of. Anyway, so she pitches in because she wants the hell out. Deal's already been messed up since they got to Dillingham. They're paddling away, and she's like a crew instructor. Pull, pull. She's getting him to work, and she's doing the same though. She was doing the same. So just as they're about out of sight, gaining speed away from that area they were just at, a scream comes out. Bloody murder scream, just a couple different pitches, but really on the high octave, like the high decibel or hertz range. It was up there. It was more like a woman being murdered, but drawn out. She said it scared the shit out of her. Her friend, her bestie, wet herself a little bit. The scream was intense. Um, these screams are no joke. They will take the fight right out of you. They will instantly make you feel like you don't have enough gun, like you need a bigger gun. So they just keep paddling because they're offshore, and that noise is behind them now. And she just looks back at the dude and says, "You just keep effing paddling. You just keep fucking paddling, dude. Like you keep paddling, and I don't want to hear nothing from you. This whole trip has been one big lie, and now we got something we don't even know what the hell it is screaming at us. And the guy's got nothing for it. What can he say? He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He probably had no idea about the hairy man, and her only understanding of Bigfoot was the Patterson Gimlin film. She no reference, so they had no clue where they were going or what could potentially go on. She's had it. They're just paddling, and in her mind, she just wants to paddle, paddle, paddle. Fuck the sightseeing shit. They got 1,000 beautiful pictures of a bear going by and the sun going down. She's content, and she's willing to pay that price she had already paid for those few pictures of a million she could have took. She was done with it. Her best friend was too. Now, this particular part where they have to go, there's one spot that's a really good pullout, and there's an old cabin there. And we used to stop there and eat lunch, or sometimes party there overnight when we were out on snow machines. Yeah, just a nice chill little place. So they see it, and the guy who's paddling is saying, "Hey, that would be our best bet for shelter." It's morning. They'd only been paddling maybe 3-4 hours. They still had a good 10 hours of daylight to be paddling, and that's what the girls wanted. They wanted freaking safety, or come across someone with a boat. Hey, we need a ride. This guy's an idiot. Save us. That was their plan. First come, first serve. Whether they make it to Aleknagik or someone comes ripping on the boat, they were done. So they tell him, hell no, we're not gonna chill there. And he goes, look, there's something big that screamed at us. I keep hearing it following us. And she goes, what do you mean it's following us? She didn't hear none of this. And this guy has been hearing, according to what he told her, he's been hearing it off in the tree line every time they would stroke, it was like it would make noise, and it was like it was making its noise with the stroke of the boat, which is I don't know if dude was just telling her a story to freak her out or what, because they've been dead silent if they really following you. Anyway, excuse me. They continue on. She wasn't stopping for his ideas. This dude was done in her eyes. They continue, and when they're just about to make it from the second river down to what is that? I think it's the Nurka Channel or Narrow something. It's just at the mouth of the Agulawak, right near where the one was throwing stuff at my buddy when he was trying to crack by the bushes. So they're nearing that spot, and as they're coming across that lake, They clear the river, and so they're going across the lake. So whatever may have been following them is now going to have to go all the way around, one way or another, to scream at them. So she's feeling a little more safe. And just as they're about almost at the halfway point of the lake and haven't heard a sound, just what this guy said, they hear another scream. Then it's answered across the lake in front of them, another scream. And way, way, way down at the other end of the lake, they hear a third scream. The third scream they heard, it was a totally different pitch. It was a lot deeper, and it lasted a lot longer. And right after that scream ended, everything, all the woods around, all the birds chirping in the distance, all went dead quiet. Now, thankfully, they didn't have to deal with it much longer than that. That when that happened, they were all in shock and they weren't sure if they went. They all kind of looked at each other, fearful, like, should we continue paddling? What direction should we be going? And that kind of thing, because they were shook. This is all new to them. This is just happening out of the blue. They just started their journey. They just started their trip of a lifetime, their bucket list. God, man, if I could afford it, I'd bring you guys back up and we could do it right. But to go through something like that. So what ends up happening is, as they're sitting on the lake, a jet boat off in the distance, they can see it coming, and once it spots them, it slows down to come over and say hi. Because when we're out there, we check on people. If a boat's not moving, we'll pull by. Everything okay? Oh yeah, we're good. We're just anchored, fishing, because that kind of thing could save someone's life. So that person on the jet boat happens to do that. Well, lo and behold, it's the guy that dropped him off on a different boat, a faster boat, because he went home, got a guilty conscience overnight for leaving this doofus with these ladies, and was on a return rescue mission with a faster boat. Solid to that dude. I know that guy. When I go next time I'm in Dillingham, I'll give him that hug you wanted. He may hit me, but I'm gonna give him that hug you wanted me to give him. So a local, someone with some intelligence that's been there, actually been there, came and got them, and was nice enough to bring the idiot with. She said the driver of the jet boat was gonna tow the guy in the canoe as a punishment, but he thought better of it, because if he drowned, then liability things. But be careful who you book a trip with. It does it. I mean, even if they're a good friend, then you will know they actually have knowledge of it. Test people if they really say they know a place. Make sure they do. Just and don't buy the hype. And they got off lucky. It could have gotten very bad, especially with multiple screams in the area, and that's not uncommon. Sorry about that. Stupid dogs barking at someone going by. Anyway, people on their four-wheelers. So, just be aware who you're purchasing services from. Make sure they're knowledgeable, man. And again, don't drink and boat. It's not worth it. Not worth it. I can bring out yearbooks from elementary school, and most of the pages I can point out 4 or 5 different dead people from drinking and water activities. Not a joke. Stay away from that stuff. Let me see. Was there anything else? My cousin Nikolai Chris, he's not doing well. I'm waiting to hear back from his sister on his overall condition. So, for those of you wishing him well or whatever, I'll pass that along. And thanks for your kind comments, and everyone who's joined us. Stick around. There's more to come. Y'all have a good day.